Oh, salt.
So we're gonna.
Here is salt, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I might see salt right here.
So we're talking about salting food on Shabbos. What could be the problem with salting food on Shabbos? So
it's preserving.
One of the reasons.
So the
Gemara.
Let the Rebbe talk. You guys don't even let the Rebbe talk.
We're salting food. Yeah. We're talking about salting food.
What's the gather? Where are we coming from?
So let's first read the Makkah in the Gemara. The first Mara Makkah in Shabbos. First Mara Makkah, the Gemara says, "Ein melchin tznoin ubeya b'Shabbos." You can't salt a tznoin, a radish or onion, and a egg on Shabbos. This is one shada. Egg also not. That tznoin is fine, and a egg and a tznoin is a problem. You can't salt a tznoin, but an egg you're allowed to salt on Shabbos. There's no problem. So what? So before you go weiter, what is the issue of salting food on Shabbos? So there's Machlekes, the Rashi and the Ramban. What is it? So in the second Makkah, Al-Tabir brings the two shittas. Second Makkah, also make a lot of salt water is also on Shabbos. Since you're salting it to last for a long time, since when you salt these things to make it last for a long time, it's similar to working skins, where they would salt it and do different processes to make it tougher and last longer. So too, therefore, the Chamir Gzeira, that is going to be asur. So meaning midaraisa.
What is the Alter Rebbe saying here? That you're not allowed to make salt water?
Both. He's talking about he's going salt water, but it goes on both.
So you're not allowed to make a supply of salt water.
Yeah, because it looks like you're going to pickle something.
That's a whole different gather here.
They both go together. There's two salting food and making salt water. They both go into the same issue. Both of them is because
you're preparing to be ma'aber the food.
Yeah.
But it's a different issue. Salt was a different issue.
It's the same issue.
Why? But making salt water itself, what's this and that?
It's the same chashash. I'm worried that people are going to start to salt them with being ma'abed oiris on Shabbos. People see that you'll
This is Midrabanan.
Yeah. Midaraisa, there is no isser by salting foods. The isser midaraisa. No. The Gemara is also only midarabanan. The isser midaraisa is only salting skins. If they didn't tanning skins, ibud oiris. That's one of the lamentations. That's one of the malachas.
They didn't just use salt. Some very nasty stuff.
Yeah, they use different things. So the Chachamim made it clear that you can that any type of processes that makes things last and involve salt is going to be asur. So Rashi says, Alter brings kivan shekeviv shas on the sky daily ibad shamelach mekayman. It's like salting. And then the Rambam has a different opinion. The Rambam says v'yishaimrim shakevish asur mipnei shu kimavashim divrei seifim. We know in there we learn kavash kimavashal. That it has a saying that it's similar to cooking, that it is mafli to mavliya, the taste comes out, it processes the food. So the Rambam learns that the isser is atu bishul. You let you salt things, or where you're going to come to cook things on Shabbos.
What's wrong to put a little bit of salt on a radish? Mm-hmm. What's wrong with to put a little salt? Take a piece of radish and salt it.
Oh, so that's soon. So, okay, so you're saying how much? The question is how much you're salting. Oh, so that's the next piece in the Gemara.
That's where I'm interject with Rabbi Yaakov was talking about yesterday. That if you're doing one by one, no problem. If you're salting two and you eat one by one, that's already a problem.
So that's the next.
Salt ahead.
Yeah. So that's the next piece in the Gemara. The Gemara says in the first man Makim, Amar Rav Nachman, Mirish Hava Milchna Pugla. At first I used to salt the tznoin, the radish. Amar, why? He said Amar Sudi Kamav Sidinale. He said it's not benefiting. It's not doing anything good. By which we're going to see later, that's the reason why an egg is mutter. Why is it tznoin asur and egg is mutter? So we're going to have machlekes later, either because it's not the derech to salt eggs, or it doesn't help, it doesn't do anything to salt eggs.
What do you mean for the,
No, to be
it's not
good-
the egg, but
to-
it's a taste.
No,
No,
besides
just
the
right,
taste.
but to salt it to make it last for a long
I'm
time.
talking about a pu'ula in the egg.
Yeah, no one. So so I'm not going to say that. He thought snein is also okay because he thought it only ruins it. The radish doesn't make it any better. Why? The Amar Shmuel, because Shmuel said pugla chrufi mailing. The sharp, strong radishes are good. So he thought that the salt, which is getting rid of it, it's making it sweat, and it's getting rid of the sharpness of it. He thought that it's not helping. So therefore, there's no problem. But keeping the shaman laha. But once he heard this, that the kiyasu ula va'amar, and he said b'marava and Eretz Yisrael malchi kishri. They used to salt piles and piles of radishes. So you see that it was good, and they liked it like that. So mimlach le milchana. Rashi teaches mimlach le milchana. He wouldn't salt, meaning a lot. He wouldn't salt a lot of radishes, but tvuli vadiyim ad vilna. But just to dip a piece that I'm about to eat, you're about to eat a piece, you could dip it. There's no issue dipping.
Again, to eat yad, there's no shiloh. Although, again, according to what he said yesterday, even to have several pieces, and you're eating them all up in one sitting, but you should.
Well, don't jump ahead. Don't jump ahead.
So yes, these are from Mimlach Milchano. From Mimlach Milchano, we learn out two things. Yeah, we learn out two things. That first of all, you can't salt a lot, and also you can't let it. Even if you're only salting one, you can't let it sit for a long time.
So now, if I make a solid egg salad, I can't put salt on it. According to the opinion,
but we paskin like the shitta that it's mutter.
Talking about according to the opinion, you're not allowed to make an egg salad on Shabbos.
If there's onions in it.
According to the first opinion, lahalacha egg is mutter.
Yeah, but if you put onions in it.
So asking if you put it in onions, do you go after rave or do you?
Now you're making it sharper.
Okay.
That becomes the problem.
I still want to bring up the discussion. I don't remember where.
I think he said that if you mix in oil.
Oh, so that's going to come
In
later.
any of these things.
Oil makes it smoother, not sharper.
Right. So
It may think the salt. It's not.
But it takes care of the salt. It deactivates the salt.
Right, it deactivates the salt. So, egg,
Not the top of the salt.
if you're making egg salad, you put something in, whether it's a mayonnaise, whether it's oil, whatever you're going to put it in to make it a little more whatever. So that takes care of the issue.
Yeah, but
So we're gonna get-
deactivate only the cooler side of it, but not the taste side.
Right.
yeah, so we're going to the Taz is going to get into that. We're going to see where the heter of putting oil comes from soon. So we see, but one at a time, and if you're eating it right away, it's okay. There's no problem in salting. Chayin, he brings up the shaila. What about? See how you can only salt one at a time. So let's say you're eating peas.
What was that?
What if you're eating peas?
Well, is peas considered one of these vegetables?
What? So peas, the salt changes it to the peas would be one of peas or beans would be one of those vegetables. So because you have to salt it one at a time. So he quotes the Venish Chai that he says that you have to do one at a time. You can't salt all of them. But he says he disagrees. He thinks the main thing is that how much you eat in one shot, in one go. So you eat a spoonful or a handful, or however much you're going to eat in one go, you could salt that. You don't have to salt one pea at a time when you're eating it.
In other words, the only reason you say one piece at a time is in a bigger object that you eat one.
Yeah. So he's saying it's not how many things it is. It's how much you're going to eat in one. Whatever is the depth to eat in one go.
What's considered one
Yeah.
portion.
Yeah. And so that's also what's the heter of the eggs? Why is eggs mutter? So in the third Maramaki, the Magen Avraham, there's a machlekes Magen Avraham and the Levush. The Avraham says Beitzim mutter lemalchan mipnei she'ein derech lasis mehem kvashim. Levush. Magen Avraham quotes Levush. He says it's not the derech. People don't make pickled eggs. Therefore, things that it's not the derech to pickle. There's no problem salting them. That's what the Levush says. The Magen Avraham, he says a different reason. V'lim hatam she'ein hamelech moyel lahem. The salt doesn't help for them so much. It doesn't change them. It doesn't change it into a different type of. It doesn't change the texture of it.
In this sense, moil means put, right?
Yeah. And the Alter Rebbe teaches this. Everyone quotes the Alter Rebbe in the Sugya because the Alter Rebbe gives a lot of Isis Hasban in the fourth Maramaki. he explains, Kol davar sha'amelach moyo l'shani says tivui, anything which salt helps to change its nature, to soften it, or to make it hard, or to make it not as bitter or sharp, or similar.
So it affects a change in the vegetable.
Yeah, it changes.
I think moil is that generally translated to mean to help. Right?
So-
Moil. But
so
here
that's
in this case, it means to affect the change.
Yes, but
Yeah.
it's helping that you can eat it. Help it to improve. It's helping
It's
the food,
affecting
you can
the
eat it.
change.
Yeah, whether for the good or for the better or for the worse, it changes the texture of
Softer, this, that, the other thing. Each one in its own way.
it. Yeah.
It makes a change. What?
Put salt in most of these vegetables. Liquid.
It sweats.
Causes the sweat to come out of it.
Right. Chaim once he says that the main thing is not the sweating, the main thing is the fact because anything will
It
sweat.
also eats it. It eats into it.
Egg would also sweat, right?
Not really, no.
No?
No, egg that just stays on the outside.
Oh, yeah? Okay. Fine. So
Anything that has water retains water. Items that retain
That's
water
what I'm
sweat.
But wait a minute, if it sweats, forget it. Blowing the water out, it makes it denser.
right. It changes the texture.
Yeah, you put salt in the vegetable, cabbage, the sweat will start to drip out, and then the item starts to get drier.
Avocado, let's say you have guacamole, you put salt on guacamole, would that change it?
I don't think so.
Because the salt will just dissolve.
It just dissolve, or maybe it will liquefy over time, but it'll take longer. Onions.
So that's the shaila. Could you salt avocados? Does it change it? So maybe
If you put a cold avocado in the fridge,
it's not going to change the texture of it, right? It's not going to change
the question is
anything.
that it draws the same way it draws salt and water, blood out of meat. That's what it does to vegetables.
Right.
It draws out the liquids. But some items don't have an effect. Sometimes the effect is there, but it takes longer.
So you need to figure out what I get a list of these things. So let's read weiter. Kegoin snoinu batzel, radishes and onions, v'shum and garlic, kukitz behem midvarim hacharifin, the sharp things, shekesheim shoyim b'melach, himazim. When they sit in the salt, they sweat, v'yitzim mirusum, and through the sweat, the sharpness of it goes out. V'nasa kashim, and then they become harder. V'chein poilin, v'adashim, beans and peas. Shenismashel b'kli pasel, and they were cooked with their shells. Shamelch merakech kushi sheyesh bahem. The salt softens them. Mitzad kli pasel softens the shell. V'chein mini kishuim, shekern ugerkes, cucumbers, raw cucumbers. Shamelch mayol lahem. V'chein kol davar shergin lasis mimena kvashim. So too, any things that people are accustomed to pickling. So asul lim loyach mehem yeser mechatich levada, more than one piece. Kedei la'achal arta. In order to eat it right away, you can't salt more than the amount you're going to eat right away. So there's two conditions to have something to be okay to salt a lot of it. First of all, it has to be that it doesn't change it doesn't do anything to it, and also it's not the derech to salt in order to make it last for a long time. So I guess it's a fish, raw fish, and stuff like that. That will be. Fish, raw meat, that's all an issue because it's
a problem.
Yeah. But cooked meat and eggs. These are the examples I brought in Shulchan Aruch. And cooked meat and cooked eggs. There's no issue salting it. There's no issue salting it if it's for the upcoming meal. As long as you're not doing it too far in advance.
Anything you're doing too far in advance is already a separate issue.
Yeah.
We're talking on a regular day, like just an item to put away.
Shabbos.
Shabbos.
So all about Shabbos.
Yeah. So,
Process.
so the Taz brings up the Sheyas Shaina. He says he addressed the question: people are making salads and they pour salt on their salads, and he said he doesn't get to what's the heter? How are they able to make their salads? So he explains. So he brings the heter pouring salt or vinegar on top of it.
Oil or vinegar.
Yeah. It's oil or vinegar. The fifth Rambam, the Taz says. They cut the garnish very thin. They put on the plate.
Snoin is not salad.
But different sorts of different types of
radish,
salad.
because radish is the davar chorif.
No, that's not the point of the chorif. It's part food.
Also, but
What's
also,
hard?
Right, but
But
salad
a
is the
regular
same.
salad, a regular tomato salad, what's the difference?
And you
Cucumbers are a problem. Cucumbers are a problem with the salt. Things which the salt changes it.
What do you mean? So now we already said you're not allowed to. So you said that in your moilchan I say the sheikhan
But ich lean I say, Adam yazel habi chatichis the asra feeling echel miyad, even if you eat them right away. They ain't heter ela derech tibel. Oh, echel b'kniatza if you're salting each one at a time. Vinire, it seems the hatam, the kivan the ein manichin eisei klal hazia, since we're not, since he thinks the heter is since that they don't let it sit and start to sweat at all. Ela sheitchin sham hachimitz, right away they pour on the vinegar. The gam minim achidim, other things they pour on, other liquids they pour on it also. Therefore, leidami leibud, because right away they pour on the vinegar and the oil, whatever they're pouring on, and it's mavatal the koyach of the melach, and it doesn't. They don't let it sit there. If you let it sit there, it's a problem. But if you're going to pour the oil, but if that's right after you salt it, you're going to pour on vinegar and oil, other stuff right away, then there's no issue because it's not going to get a chance to sweat.
So you can do the opposite. So you can put all the other stuff first and then put the salt and then you solve all the problems.
Yeah. And
I didn't fight with anybody this morning. My name is Pinchas.
You're not in the kitchen.
I am plenty in the kitchen.
There's the Chaim says talking better to put the oil first because make sure you don't forget. You might put the salt. Might put the salt first and forget to put the oil.
Mix them together in a separate bowl and pour over it.
You're dressing.
That's true. Make a dressing.
That's how they teach
Yeah, as long as you don't pour salt into water. As long,
dressing. This way everyone gets everything consistent.
Yeah.
Otherwise, one lettuce gets more salt and this and that.
All right.
I got a lesson in cooking.
We're gonna get there, don't worry.
That's what my wife does.
Fine. Says Ela Isi Lexasra Isi Yerek Shekain Salatin. I think lettuce. Umalchim Hayerek Bifnias. May they salt by itself to Chidlu Mashin Isleik Hach, and they let it sit like that. Umasanin Namayim Shayitzin Mehem Imenu, and then they sift and then they remove the water or liquid which comes out of it. Achakach Ma'arvin Isaim Shem, and then they mix it with Shem and Zayis, Vachimitz, Viza Isser Gomer. It's completely also Vidami Tfele Ibud, Kivin Shu Mantin Ashi Kabbalah Hate Vamelach, and it's kind of similar to salting it, since you let it sit there and you're waiting for it to absorb the salt.
Yeah, but that's like about the other you're talking about. Salmon is also a problem.
Oh yeah, so why isn't that an issue? Yeah,
It's not an issue, but
he doesn't address it.
He doesn't address it yet. He's something else.
So that's also where's the heter? Where does the heter of putting oil on things come from? So the Taz brought it down.
What will be the problem with oil now?
No, what's the heter? Where do we learn out that pouring oil or chimitz on top of the salt is mevatel l'keach of the salt?
That.
Where do we learn that from? So we learn it out from a shitta that we don't really paskin like.
Please listen to the first one.
So look in the 6 maramokim. 6 maramokim have the makkah of we have the makkah of the din of the oil. We also have another makkah of the isra making salt water. So the Gemara in Shabbos, the same Amud says, "Ein oisin mei melach mirubin." You can't make a large amount of salt water unless it's a seicha kavashin to put into pickled food. Shebesecha gistera inside a vat. But you can make a small quantity of salt water, which you will need for the meal. And you use it to eat your bread and to put inside whatever you're eating. So that's one shitta. The first shitta says you're allowed to make small amounts of salt water. Then comes Amar Rabbi. You see, he argues. He says, "It's because one is more, one is less. Halal asurim, halal mutarim. Well, what's the difference? Salt water is supposed to make salt water. It should be also across the board. If you're doing a large amount of big malacha, it's asur, and malacha mu'etas muteres. If I'm only cooking a small thing, it's going to be water, and a big thing
we're not
water.
talking about melacha, but this is not melacha. This is the whole thing is a midrabanon.
Yeah, that's how we times.
Worried.
You didn't like to worry.
Yeah, but according to Rabbi Yossi, you can ask the same question why one piece is good and 2 pieces not.
It's mamish like a gezeira legezeira. Mamish, literally, it's a gezeira legezeira.
Okay, you write your own Gemara. We learn this Gemara.
Fine. So Ella, what does it say? Ella, Elu ve'elu asurin. Both of them is asur. Fine. Which type of salt water are you allowed to make? Ve'elu hein mei melach hamutarim. This is the type of salt water you're allowed to make. Neisin shemen melach. First, you put the salt, the oil, and the salt before the water. You put in oil. oy shemen umayim, or you put oil in the water. As long as you don't mix water and salt right away. So as long as oil is there before the salt and water mixes, then it's okay because it weakens the power of the koyach of the salt.
Does it have to have water?
Doesn't have to have water. No. Doesn't have to have water. As long as
they did in those times.
so you see from here that as long as you're not mixing salt and water together, there's no problem as long as the oil is there first. So this is the makkah. This is the makkah of what the Taz says, that if you put in vinegar or oil, it weakens the koyach of the salt. The Tosefes Shabbos asks the question. Now, in the Gemara, you see very clearly that the oil, you can't put the salt before the oil. You can't mix the water and the salt before you put the oil. First, you have to put the oil and then put the salt. So how come we're being makel by the Taz? He says how come you could put the salt and put the oil later? So the Tosefes Shabbos answers, he says it's different because when it comes to salting food, it's sound that everyone knows that the oil is going to come soon. There's no maras ayin. No one's going to get the wrong impression. When you're making salt water, people don't know if you're going to add oil. That's in the 7th Maramilkim, he explains. He asks a question. The head of the Taz isn't good enough. The Mishnah says clearly, it doesn't help to put the oil after you put the salt. He already did it. It doesn't help to put it afterwards. The oil needs to be before the salt. So you have to be madchik ul yashiv to enter. The shani hasam is different there in the Gemara by the salt water. Shein yadua mitchila shitin achar kach gam shemen. People don't know he's going to be putting oil. Could be just one salt water. Everyone knows that the salad you put oil or vinegar into it. Therefore, everyone knows. And that's why it's mutter. Everyone knows you're going to by salt water. Maybe just one salt water. Maybe you want to pickle something.
No, it's just salt water. It doesn't need oil. It doesn't need oil.
Right? If you're going to use the pickle, if you're going to use to soak something in the salt, maybe you're going to leave it the way it is. So,
what was the question again? Like why is salt water?
You have to put the oil before the salt. You can't put the salt afterwards.
The Taz said that you're supposed to make salt water?
No, the Taz is talking about salads. He's asking a question on the Taz.
About salad, not by salt water.
His question is on the Taz. The Taz says they put the salt first, and it's okay because later they're going to put oil and vinegar.
But in the salad?
Yeah.
So he thought it was the same as the salt water.
Saying the mucker, where the mucker the heter, the mucker the dinner, we learn out from Rabbi Yossi over there.
Yeah.
So he says it's different. It's different because people know that it's going to be coming. So it's interesting. We don't paskin like Rabbi Yossi. We paskin you're allowed to make small amounts of salt water, but still we learn this din we take from Rabbi Yossi. Now you see, if you add oil, then it gets rid of the issue. Another discussion. Chaim Na gets inside. What about putting sugar? What about putting sugar on food? Is that also like salting
sugar
things?
Sugar is not ma'abed. What is sugar ma'abed? Sugar doesn't have any power.
So he says...
It's just a sweetener.
So he says, first of all, it depends. It comes back to the machlekes of Rashi and the Rambam. What's the reason for the isser of... What's the reason for the isser of salting? Is it because you're working it? Is it because you're ma'abed, or you're making it last for a long time? Or is it because you're cooking it? So like you're changing, you're doing, it's like you're cooking it.
It's like shlika.
So he said.
Salt, you can say that. Kvushim.
So he says if you're going to say, saying if you're going to Rashi that the isra is ma'abed, that you're working it, you're salting it. So he says there's a machlekes in Hilchos Melicha if you're allowed to salt meat to take out the blood with sugar. If sugar has the same pool as salt, that extracts the liquid.
That's why
because it looks there's machlekes what the metzias was. There are certain shittas that held that salt extracts that you could use sugar to salt meat to take out the blood from meat. So he says if you go to Rashi, the chayr is totally on that machlekes. Well, the paleo a lot of shit. He bring a lot of shittas that argue that say that salt that And sugar doesn't have that property. The Shita says also, so it will be telling that machlekes. But he says, but according to the Rambam, the Isser is because it's the derech to be kovish it. People, it's kavish k'mavush, people soak it in it. So he says the chayda foods, which is the derech to soak them. You have fruits that they dry them out in sugar. They let them sit in sugar until it dries out. They have dried fruits. He says according to the Rambam, it's kavish k'mavushal. He says it will be usher to soak fruit, to put to sugar foods that it's a derech to dry out with sugar. So
Sugar dries out the food?
I don't know. How do they do it?
Huh?
Heat.
Is it the sugar that dries it, or it's
I
the?
think the sugar is just like crystallizing it.
Just not, but they put it in water. They make it. They've been certain climate also. And just sit.
Okay, it's interesting. The place can say that foods which is the derech to dry them out with sugar. You shouldn't. You have the same issue.
All these things.
Yes, all these things. There will be an issue of putting sugar on it, unless you add some other liquid to it, or unless you just do whatever you're going to use for that meal.
Why don't you write about salting cholent or salting soup?
So soup that's full of oil. That's full
No, I'm
of.
talking about this a different, but it's also put in. It's a different halacha, but it's also about salting.
Oh, you're saying about bishul. You're saying
Yeah.
sheni kli shlishi. That's a whole other sugya.
Okay, bottom line, we can do whatever we
There's-
want.
Whatever you want, that they shalas.
Bottom line
And
is, Rabbi, we
there's-
out in the kitchen.
There's also the Prima Gadam says, what about letting something sit in vinegar? Certain salads you let the vegetables marinate in a vinegar. for a little
Vinegar
bit.
itself is a kibush, no?
So the Prima Gadam says that there's a problem. And being kovish something, putting something in a vinegar that it should sit there and be pickled is also a problem. So there's also a problem. But the place can argue how long is it doesn't need to sit in vinegar in order to be covered.
But it depends.
So the question is, does it need 24 hours, or does it, in order to become kavush, and therefore, as long as you put in there for less than 24 hours, you're not going to get served kavush? Or is it the amount of time it takes for something to sit on the fire and get heated up? So according to Prima Gadam says, the amount of time it takes to sit on the fire, so how much would that be, 18-20 minutes? For something to get heated up. So according to therefore that will be an issue. Another place can say that it takes 24 hours, as long as you're not doing it until letting it sit there until after Shabbos, there's no issue.
You have to go into the kitchen more.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on the item. Cabbage takes 30 minutes. So a lot of people, they marinate in vinegar, they mix it, they leave it on the side, and when it gets soft, that's when they make their coleslaw.
For how long? For
30 minutes.
30 minutes. So
Mix it with vinegar and salt.
like the Prima Gadam maybe
Put it on the
vinegar.
side, vinegar or vinegar and salt. You leave it on the side, the cabbage settles down, gets softer, and then they put in their mayonnaise. It's easier to...
So maybe according to the Prima Gadam.
Are you allowed to do that?
So the Prima Gadam says the issue of letting it something soak in vinegar is also a problem of kavush. But the question is for how long?
You know, the things will probably take overnight. If you want to do like a marinated salad overnight, it takes long.
Haina says, what happens if you forgot to put in oil? You made the salad and it sat there for like 20 minutes, half hour, you forgot to later. She says you're still allowed to eat it, because even though by bishul...
Because of the shake that Rabbanan. Echoes brought that up.
Shegig the Ravanan. So by says that I was b'shegig or still zigzag, you're not allowed to use it. But since the issue is only with the Ravanan, it was b'shegig.
You can't. Next time you can't publish your thing a week in advance. It's because I don't know. I'm just making a joke. But yeah, Paul talked about that. No.
Boys had it all mentioned.
It's just a coin. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam v'zon esod v'kol b'tchein. Ulo yishalech b'locha b'ozim. Kom v'yizar ezedech v'mazbeah l'chol chayot baruch atah Adonai v'zon esod
No,
Shkoyach.